How are you?
Good.
Get him.
What are you doing?
Friday. I'm happy with that for sure. I know.
I don't have class Tuesdays and Thursdays, so every day feels like this one day.
That's good.
Yeah,
It's good. It's like a class and then we're off. Class off, class off. Nice. I like that. Kind of that way, me too. Not teaching on our Tuesday, Thursday, so that's good. Yeah. What's up?
Thanks for signing on.
You got it? It's good. Nice name. Sounds good. Go from there.
Oh,
123 now.
let me check my.
Leadership? Leadership course? Yeah, it's something like that.
Collaborative skills or whatever? No, that's one I'm still in. Was that 130? Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah, 130.
We're gonna finish up chapter 1 today, so don't worry about it. Yeah. Get in there.
No, I didn't.
Sorry. Hey Rob,
How's it going, Sam?
not too bad. How are you?
Good.
Yeah? Any exciting plan for the weekend? Or any plan?
Training on Saturday and work Sunday. So
All right.
pretty boring.
Okay. No, that's good.
What about you?
What do I do this weekend? I think I'm gonna be chill too, but hopefully try to get out with my wife, just nature walk or something like that. Just it's been like air quality has been bad, so hopefully we'll get a little better day. And if we see a little bluer sky, then just get out and fresh air. Yeah, good plan. Have a good one, eh? Jasmine, how are you? You're like very chic today, like all black. Like
So that's what how I use just for work.
okay.
Like I guess
What's your work?
I used to work for the Edmonton, so I worked in like the corporate office.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I did that for like 8 months, 10 months, and then I came back to school for my last semester.
Oh, okay, makes sense. How is it being back in school? Different?
Yeah. Well, I did do like 4 years and then I worked for so long, I think I got used to it.
Yeah.
So coming back wasn't my
How long? It cannot be so long. How long?
like 10 months.
Oh,
So
okay.
like I got
Okay.
the flow of like every
Right,
day,
working.
and I
Yeah.
I'd work game days and things like that.
Yeah.
Coming back's really different.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm almost done though. It's my last semester.
Yeah. Which is more difficult, like working 9 to 10, 9 to 5, that kind of job versus like right now, like being student and
I think just because I enjoyed my job like a lot, it didn't really feel like I was working. Like I worked 80-hour weeks.
wow.
Sometimes. Like, in
Wow.
season, yeah, it's some really busy weeks.
Yeah.
And it's still like I guess the 80-hour weeks feel like work.
Yeah.
Other times like it wouldn't even feel like I was working. So,
Oh, nice. Nice. Good for you.
yeah, versus, it just feels like school.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Hey, Joshua. How are you?
How about are you?
Eh,
And I wasn't able to like.
Friday, right?
Sure.
Any plan? Weekend?
Study.
Yeah. Cool.
How about
Sure.
you?
Yeah. Probably chill too.
Nice.
Doing here and there. Yeah. Some grocery. Why not? Probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. Gotta go to TNT and get some Asian stuff. That's what I do. Yeah. Love it. Try not to, hold up too much of Japanese snacks.
Oh, yeah.
Because my wife is like, come on, lose some weight. I'm like, oh. Who are they? My Chemical Romance? My Chemical Romance. I have no idea. It's very goth. Wow. Interesting. Very goth. The American? Are they American?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not so, it's like.
Yeah. I can see that. Looking good though.
180 million views annually.
Oh yeah, 280 million views. Oh boy. Holy, that's a lot of views.
Yeah. Like 1,000.
I know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So you want to do that thing on Monday? All right. Do you have they created our PowerPoint before for the in-class? You have it? So if you want to swap up the things or you need new pictures or something like that, just let them know and let me know. I'll try to dig up some pictures and whatnot, and we can download it from Discords and whatnot. So yeah, sounds good. Yeah, yeah, I should be able to respond to the emails over the weekend too. So just let me know. Yeah, all right. Ah.
Recording.
Yeah. People shouldn't just skip, that part.
They could. Why would?
No, they shouldn't.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna.
This is a great way to stay a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we had like Bose speaker rather than those things. Hmm.
Like, what would you say is like?
Morning. Green Day.
They played this all the time. Yeah.
How are you guys? Ooh, I don't see their silver, the knickers today. You take it off? Aw, good job.
Yeah.
All right. Any weekend plan?
Go to the gym, taking over my girlfriend, and that's it.
Cool.
Working through this.
Yeah. Nice, nice. Yeah. Show is good. What about you, Kinley? Sorry?
Yeah, okay.
Curling. Recreationally or competitively or? Ooh. What team do you pray for?
It's just been more real friends.
Okay. Cool. Oh, nice. What's the you skip or your first?
Yeah.
Skip? Ooh. So it's the what's your last name? So it's the burden. Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that about curling. Like take that last name of the skip and just make it a team name. I like that. Yeah. I had friends who were competitive curlers too. Yeah. One of them played for
Is it really?
World Championship mixed curling, and their the woman who played for the biggest Scotties? No, Scotties for women. Yeah. Sarah Wilkes. Yeah. I actually did a PhD with her husband right now. His name is Mickey Rismore. Yeah. So we studied together, we did play sports together. So yeah, he was always telling me about how some new theories and mechanics of the carring, like how you like wipe, the brush the ice and which direction and how that physics works and how it's like, okay, I'm trying to have some beer here. So, but it was very interesting. Interesting. I like it. It's a accuracy sports. I play golf, so I kind of feel that, the nerdy aspect of it too. Like golf has that too, like how the all the swing face rotations and how the crowd face, the lines and how it's shaped and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. You getting ready for the duel?
I am, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
It's today, Wei.
It is
It is today.
exciting.
Was it 6 p.m., 7 p.m.? 6 p.m., right? Okay, 6 p.m., main gym, right? Can we see from the outside, like a social hallway too? There's a big glass.
So I think they might be covering that because they want the Victoria University get it.
Okay, okay. So if you want to watch some wrestling tonight, 6 p.m., main gym, for free for U of A students. Hello, hello, morning. Hey, you're seeing a course? Cool. That's cool. Do you guys know about this? They put the board game in CCR, campus and community recreation. So apparently that's where the booster juicer was. Yeah, I like the booster juicer, but yeah. It opens. Oh no, it opens on January 17th. So okay, so there you go. I'm pretty sure they had a gaming room too. I don't know where did that go. Lab hat. Mine's one of those too, with the pump on. What I realize is that when I'm driving, I feel like I'm stuck here. Like I'm trying to like shoulder check, and it's like this thing is just like booty. Yeah, I can't do. Yeah, I'm just like, yeah. Those are nice glasses. Ooh. All right. Well, it's another way to enjoy your fashion, right? Glasses. It's just one way to think about it. Hey, you're this side today. What's up? You moved from over there to over here. Oh, nice, nice. Do you even hear the sound? I guess you can hear. Hey, Isaiah.
Wow.
EV, email me for chapter 3. We're not going to do it today, so don't worry. Yeah. All right. Carmen, was it the dance, beginner dance today? What? Oh, that was yesterday. Sorry. Right, yesterday. Okay. 2 days ago was the dance. Gotcha. All right. It's recording. I'm not going to make the same mistake. All right. So once again, Eden is going to wrestle tonight, 6 p.m. duel with their bears. So if you want to go watch for free, that's one thing getting wet. Main gym, 6 p.m. All righty. So today we're going to finish off, hopefully, chapter 1 about the introduction to this course and their social psychology of leisure. We'll see how that goes. But this is where, well, the one before we were talking about why it's important to study leisure from social science perspective. And another thing that the chapter author talking about was the, some of the leisure can be leisure problem. And then maybe some of you remember in RLS 100, we were talking about taboo recreation, deviant leisure, those things, typically criminalized, sometimes criminalized, restricted. Society considers not good thing. Maybe according to the authors, these new phenomena, well, skateboarding is a new phenomenon, but esports, those new phenomena can be part of that too. So to really understand what's happening in those things, especially new activity, we got to do science and research and collect the data to see what's really going on rather than, listening to your parents and your parents being like, gaming is bad. It makes kids violent. Is it though? There's actually a lot of research around that too. Now, there are different ways to go about those things, examining where the problem is in leisure context. Now, social science approach doesn't really help us, decide whether something is really, really bad so that we have to do something about it. Or we even have to, legalize something, maybe. It doesn't really help that. But it helps with the empirical question according to the chapter. So what we mean by empirical, which we will discuss further in chapter 3, is quote unquote factual information, right? Something like, hey, Dan, like this question, does playing esports cause negative health outcomes? Sometimes, depending on how you do it, even like my casual game playing, sometimes I feel that pain in my wrist sometimes. And my wife goes like, just stop praying. But anyway, we can answer these questions through research. We can answer this question too. Is the number of the skateboarders in a community correlated to the crime numbers in the same neighborhood? We can answer those things too, obviously. Now, with that information, yes or no, to what extent, then people can make an informed decision too. Okay, so then let's regulate, let's do something about it. Or you know what, actually, there's no problem. We all build it up the idea that something is bad in our mind, but it is not sometimes. And those decisions and practices is called evidence-based practice. And that's what you want to do as a practitioners, rather than just, I think it's not good, let's do something, so on and so forth. I think this is good, even for the good side too, though. You think that, let's say, camping is good for kids. Maybe we take it for granted to an extent too. But is it really? To what extent? In what ways? Do we really know? Without knowing that, is it actually justifiable as a professional to just keep doing the same thing? So that's where the evidence and social sciences to study leisure comes in. And then the chapter goes in to talk about social psychological approach, some main keywords, key concepts, and the main approaches. And overall, in social sciences, not just the social psychology, we use scientific method, which is a fancy way of saying basically we try to be systematic. We try not to be just like, I look at the people, and there's a lot of subjectivity and I make a conclusion. No. There's some consistent way to observe, collect the data, analyze data, and try to make a conclusion based off of it. And that's what scientific method is. And in chapter, if you read the chapter 1, that chapter talked about a lot about experiments, which psychologists do quite often. But actually in a leisure studies side, not too much. Although there are some recent works, including my experiments too. So I'm going to share some of that next chapter and future too. But not too much experiments. And that's because social psychology of leisure tends to be applied. There's a target, which is leisure. So it's applied application of those disciplines. So we tend to use more different various methods, not just experiments, but also something like surveys, observation, interview, sometimes GPS, GIS data. Your phone, when you actually download the app and you just click through, like there's a pop-up, do you agree to this? And you're like, yeah, I agree. You're actually agreeing to a lot of things. How many of you have what's called Strava? Strava, you know what that is? Yeah, depending on what you click, you're actually feeding us researchers the information as to where you were, what you're doing, how fast you're moving, and what the exercise and all that kind of things. You are actually with the Strava. They're actually saying those data. Of course, we can't pinpoint who that person is because that's very unethical and it's very dangerous, stalking and all those social problems, of course. But we can see, oh, this person is working around. Sometimes we actually eliminate their first couple minutes or several minutes so that people cannot track person's houses, basically. But still, we can see some physical activity data, movement data in a city. So GPS, GIS, diary, photographs, your Twitter feeds. Yes, if it's most of the Twitter feeds, they're public domain. So we can use that for science as well. Now, in addition to methods and data, what's important is also theory, and that's the explanation of what the theory is. In a social science, that's explanation of how things happen, how things are interrelated to each other. Like, for example, going back to the esports example, does esport decreases health? So esports, health, two different things. How are they related to each other? Yeah, maybe that is related to each other, but how? Why? That's where the theory comes in. That's where the explanation comes in. Because without explanation, that correlation means just correlation. We don't know. Maybe it's just because of another thing that's creating that relationship. It's not really esports that's bad. Maybe it's just sitting too long is bad. It's not the esports, it's just sitting. Okay, so that correlation was just what we called basically misleading, right? Makes sense? If you play esports standing, there you go, problem solved. So theory is very important. And this is much more advanced and formal theory of formal definition of theory in social sciences. And if you don't understand some of the keywords, that's okay. Because we're gonna, in chapter 3, we're gonna spend some time on the key concepts like construct, variables, so on and so forth. But what's important here is that theory is about explanation of phenomena. And also, actually, it helps sometimes predict things too. As in, let's say some theory suggests that esports causes, okay, let's say some back pain issue, right? Health issues. if we can explain that, if we can pinpoint that to, yes, that's because of the esports for some certain reason, then if we observe that cause a gang, which is esports, you can next time predict, oh, you're gonna get that back pain again. So take care. Before you get that pain, maybe you want to get some like support, you know, whatever that things wrap around your body or whatever that might be. Maybe that helps you, right? We can predict the future. And also it's about interrelationship connections among different things. Again, like two different things like esports and health. What's the relationship? How it's related? Why it's related? That's where the theory comes in. How many of you take research method course, by the way? How many of you took 209, maybe? 210? Okay. Kind of related to, okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. So we'll do that a little more on chapter 3. And in chapter talk about, 3 approaches in a social psychology. And that's kind of important. That's kind of history of social psychology, how it's developed. So actually 3 approaches, but it's not like we change these approaches day to day, but it's perspective that was pretty common at a certain point in history. This one, for example, was more common 50s and 60s and even a little bit of 70s too. In the 80s and 90s, cognitive approach came up. It was actually criticism and a response to this first approach. And then the last approach is more recent and we consider most comprehensive, and it's quote unquote the best. So we try to, basically we want to focus on this. We want to take this approach in this course as much as possible, but these 2 first approaches are building blocks to it. So the first one is called a stimulus response approach, SR. I just sometimes showed it, or behaviorist approach, which says that internal mental states like your attitudes toward learning, attitudes toward gaming, exercise, those things, feelings are unobservable. You can't see that. You can't see it. We shouldn't focus on it. Because being able to see or observe is very important in science because it relates to measurement. If we cannot measure something, how can we study? How can we study reliably, systematically? We talked about social science is all about systematic approach, right? If we cannot measure it clearly, how can we study systematically? Good point though, right? Kinda. We cannot, you know. So sometimes this feels a little bizarre because basically these people said that some extreme version of these people said that we should literally abandon everything that we cannot see. As a psychologist, yes. Like we shouldn't think about the feelings. That's wasteful. We shouldn't be spending, time researching feelings, emotions. We can see that, the behaviors and responses attached to feelings and emotions, but not emotion itself. But actually, there's a legit, good reason for it too. They want it to be quote unquote scientific. Now, instead, they try to focus on a 3 things. One is the stimuli, the situation, whether it's the personal characteristic situation or the environmental, social situation that trigger certain behavior. People's response, aka, behaviors, and then finally rewards that reinforces that, reproduce the same response in the same situation. Make sense? So it was an important approach because they wanted to be more scientific. They wanted to make psychology more scientific by focusing on observable. But, that means reducing human behavior to a very simple set of observable things. But, human behaviors are sometimes not that simple. We're not necessarily like these adorable dogs who are just like always, when you go for a treat, to open up even a, treat box, they know it, right? Just follow you and they just drool and they just like swing their tails, right? The stimuli is that you just food, right? Food and you going for the treat. They come, they do the behavior and they do all the things every time. And then by you giving that treat, actually reinforces that behavior. and so on and so forth. They learn that too. Same thing with the going for a walk. When you go for like, little one of those, what's that called? The rope, that leash thing, the leash. They know it. You're going for a walk, right? So they just they go to the door and they just waiting for you sometimes. And going for a walk is actually, that experience is reverse them and then reinforces the behavior, so on and so forth. Sometimes we're not like that. If you have a kids, you know it. It's so difficult. If the kids are like dog, that's a horrible thing to say, but that would be a lot easier, probably. Now, how does this approach, behaviorist approach, work in in a leisure context? Let's apply that in this hypothetical question, with this hypothetical question. How can you make Shin stop playing video games? If you're actually interested in this research topic, I think my wife will pay you a lot of money to actually answer this question. But if you're a behaviorist, you're the person who is interested in observable, right? Maybe you say something like this. Well, look at where he is, how he's playing. He's in this like a whatever living room, and there's this PS5, which I don't have yet because too expensive. Anyway, PS5 and TV is right there in front of his chair, right? Maybe this environment is a stimuli. What if we put the books instead, right? That will actually trigger different types of activity and less gaming behavior. And then you keep observing me, which is not creepy at all. And you go like, yeah, like you're timing my gaming hours. And you're like, oh man, look at that. It's reducing Shin's gaming hours. Good. That's working. Let's reinforce this behavior. Every time Shin pick up the book instead of game, the PS4 control, we give somehow from the ceiling, there's a Japanese snack just drops. That's amazing idea. I want that actually. I want that house. Anyway, so that he actually learns, right? And that will be reinforced, and then maybe I become reader. I don't know if that's any better, but still, like, gaming time reduced for sure. So, but leisure is a complex human behavior and experience. So by just looking at what can be seen, we can't necessarily solve the problem or understand the situation even, for that matter. The textbook author, in the context of esports, they said this. So they're talking about destructive behavior as in like unhealthy behavior. So lack of health, not healthy behavior, may not be happening always with the gaming, or gaming happens, but maybe unhealthy behavior does not, follow, or unhealthy behavior happens, but that doesn't happen with the gaming. If the correlation is not always there, this kind of behavioral approach really loses its methods, the way to actually study that issue more, because you kind of exhaust what's observable really quickly. If you're interested in something not observable, you can further study this, but okay, they're not seems to be related to each other at the observable level. For example, I might actually lose interest. There is something called interest exists, right? I might lose interest in a certain books and certain genre and starting to play game again. And you go like, ooh, what happened? I thought, that this solution was perfect and genius. If you're interested if you are the person who are studying and interested in unobservable construct like interest, you continue to, dig deeper, and maybe she lost interest. Okay, let's study his interest, so on and so forth. But if you're just looking at the observable, it's really difficult to move on from there. And that's why we have the next approach. Some psychologists came back and like, you know what? We shouldn't try to be scientific too much by focusing on observable, because a lot of social psychological things, whether it's the behavior, feelings, and thought, obviously, are related to unobservable things. We have to actually prioritize that. So these are the people, cognitive approach people. They're the people prioritize unobservable mental states. Disposition is more stable over time. that influence behaviors and experiences and cause differences in them across people. So for example, some of you over the weekend, this weekend, some of you are going to interact with other people more. If we count the number of the people you interact, pursue to interact this weekend, there are some systematic differences. Some of you will interact more people than other people. These people would say, these researchers would say, you know what, one of the factor that making a difference is the personality. You know, you have heard about introversion, extroversion. That's actually personality and disposition. So maybe some extroverted people pursue sociable context. So they ended up actually, you know, interacting more people, so on and so forth. That didn't happen with the behaviorist people. These people tend to emphasize the importance of these personal factors that are operating very powerfully independent of sometimes situational factors. Something in here. So how does that look like in a context of, again, same thing? Trying to make you guys are trying to make me stop playing game. God forbid that. But from this perspective, cognitive approach, you may be saying, hey, maybe Shin's quote unquote personality, maybe curiosity. Is maybe a curious person. That's why that's driving him video gaming, because some of the video games are like fantasy world, right? Some of them are about like doing things like GTA, Grand Theft Auto. You know, you go around the city and just do stuff that you cannot do in reality. Well, you could do that, but you go to jail if you just punch people in the face and just try to steal the car, right? But you get to do that in game. So curiosity, you know, and there's actually personality related to that. Maybe that's driving. I'm not saying that I have that urge to punch people in the face, but anyway, I don't play GTA. Anyway, and you maybe say like, you know, the state too. When he plays game, he seems to be stressed. And look at how he's playing. Like when he grabbed that control, he's just like stressed out. So maybe this is a coping mechanism for him. All right, let's observe. And you may be looking at not just what I'm playing and how I'm playing, but also how I appear to be feeling. Hey, look, Shane's like feeling more relaxed and maybe happy after praying or while praying. Maybe that's a coping mechanism too, actually. Okay, so can we provide a different coping mechanism so that, you know, the gaming hours will drop? So that focusing on unobservable help approach the issue a little differently. Now the chapter, each approach has, of course, its own problem. Chapter says that, well, not all factors that impact the leisure behavior are obviously internal or personal. Like my gaming example, if my wife comes and just slap the control off of my hands, that's not a personal factor. That's not internal. That's situational, right? Which never happened, by the way. My wife is pretty nice. Sometimes she says that, you know what, I think your students have a very bad impression of me because of your lectures. No, she's lovely. Anyway, and also as a researcher, and everybody actually, research shows that we are subject to this bias. It's called fundamental attribution error. So if we are to choose between two types of factor, one is personal, individual, like personality, right? Motivation, versus situational, environmental, like your peers, your parents, the environmental situation, you know, whatever the things, like, you know, environments and, you know, place and whatnot. We tend to actually think that individual factors are more powerful. Why? Because probably we are individual, right? We know, we live with our personality. We live with our motivation. So we think that's very, very powerful things. But in reality, not so much, actually. I mean, to an extent, yes, but there's this consistent influence of the social environments, for example, other things. So we overestimate the power of the personal factors. For the cognitive approach, which focuses on a personal factor, this is very, you know, threatening, very important validity issue. People can just easily go to, you know, the motivation is more important, personality is more important, and so on and so forth, ignoring the situational factor. And that's why we take that third approach, interactionist approach. Long name, you don't have to remember that. Interactionist does the job, which is basically the both. We take a look at the both personal factor and situational environmental factor as well. We look at the both unobservable and observable. This person, Lewin, almost 100 years ago, he created this basic quote unquote equation. Of course, it doesn't really help anything, but this summarizes interactionist perspective. Behavior equal a function of P as in personal factor, E as in environmental factor. Environment including social environment too. Very simple, right? Both. Now, chapter talk about two types of interactionism though, or interactionist phenomena. One is called additive. So in an additive situation, whatever the behavior, the outcome we are looking for happens when both the personal and environmental factor or situational factor coexist. Make sense? So for example, in the case of me gaming, let's say the personal factor is stress, the state of being stressed out, right? Stress level, that's personal. And let's say their situational factor is, marking exam? Well, marking, like in a course. Marking can make me stressed out, that's for sure. But I'm trying to think just, that's actually potential, but let me think. Let me make more exaggerated. Okay, being alone. Situational, right? Being alone. Like I don't have, my wife is out for girls' night out, right? Yes. No, just kidding. Don't tell that to her. Yes. Gaming nights, right? So that's a situation that leads to gaming too. But that itself is not powerful enough, maybe. It may lead to some gaming, but not too much. But then the stress comes in, right? At Friday, I had a long week. I'm looking forward to that Friday, my wife's girl night. Yeah, honey, you deserve, just go for it. Just spend a lot, have fun, have a meal, have a dessert, do shopping. So I can game. Anyway, which may or may not happen. Anyway, and then if that both factors, the stress and the personal factor and the situation, being alone at home, happens at the same time, my gaming hours spike, right? That's the additive interactionism. It says additive, but it's really multiplicative, if you will. It's like a multiplication, like two factor exam comes in, outcome just spikes, right? Now, the other one is a little more trickier. Gosh, again, the other reciprocal interactionism. Now, that's a little trickier. So I'm trying to, so step one, step two, right? So from this reciprocal interactionism, this is another type, and it's actually related to the social psychology of leisure a little more. So what it suggests, it's a little different from additive. So this perspective says that personal factor is a little more important because it comes into play, in affecting people's behavior twice. So first, personal factor, let's say extroversion, right? It will, if you're extroverted and we have a free time, weekend, we will choose a social context that are, conducive to social interaction. So between staying at home, going to a bar, if you're extroverted, which you choose, most likely. Going to bar, I know. Thank you, Kelly. Going to bar, right? So that personal factor comes in once, going to bar. Now you are at the bar, step two, you're at the bar. Now extroversion, again, comes into play. Along with the situational factor, let's say whether the bar is dead or not, situational factor also impact too. The bar, the bar, sometimes bar is just like nobody. Like how are you gonna interact with the people if there's nobody? No, you have to just keep drinking beers and that's what you do, right? But so there's that situational factor, whether the bar is having a good vibe and a lot of people or not. So that's one, but the personal factor, extroversion, comes into play again to affect your decision as to, okay, are you gonna actually, now you're in this place, are you gonna actually talk to people? How you are going to interact with the people, so on and so forth. So that into this behavioral explanation, behavior prediction, this extroversion comes into place. First of all, choosing which context, which situation you put yourself in. And then in that, when you get into that situation, what are you going to do? Now, why this is important in the context of leisure? Because especially the step one. If this situation we are choosing, the context we are choosing was a leisure, is a leisure, we tend to have more control and choice and freedom around it, right? If it's a weekend, if it's a choosing where to spend your free time, you have a lot of choice. Like it doesn't really matter, like no matter what other people say, you can choose. You know, you want to stay home, although your friends will keep texting you, just ignore, like I'm sick, sorry, I can't go, but you're just totally healthy and cozy and watching movies. How many of you have done that? I did it, right? Right, thank you. I know, I love that you're honest. There you go. But think about it, if it's a work, it's more difficult. If your boss says Monday 9 a.m. doesn't matter, you gotta come. Or Joshua, let's say I'm your boss. I'm so sorry. Just kidding. You'll be happy. It doesn't matter if you want to like individual task or the group task. This is the task, this is the job, you gotta do it. You may be like, you know, Shin, I excel in the individual context. I want to focus on my own task myself, right? But I'm like, yeah, this is your job. This is the, you know, company's policy. You got to do it, group tasks, right? So you can't really choose that. The step one, the importance of that personal factor of choosing that social, for example, social context, situational, you know, factor is very, very limited usually. But in a leisure, hell yes, like you have that choice. You have a control, unless like, yeah, your parents are still telling you what to do, what not to do. You got the partner and now your partner wants you to do, of course, leisure is not completely free, but it's a relatively freer, hope so, right? So that's why this is more relevant to leisure. That's where leisure may be unique life domain where the personal factor operates more strongly, especially this at this step one. So how does that interactionist approach look like? Applying to, gosh, you have a really good, please don't come up with a very good idea as to stop making me stop playing games, because my wife will actually pay you. But if you're interactionist, you may be looking at unobservable, like stress. You don't see it, like you can't actually see it. You can use the different things to try to get a proxy to it. Like, you know, there's a skin conductor actually, you know, measures, you know, stress level. There's a saliva test about, you know, those things. Yes. But you cannot actually see the stress. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you can see my face, but my face is Japanese. So I'm very always serious. I always look like stressed out. That doesn't mean I may be very actually relaxed, right? But anyway, she seems stressed out. So let's give him alternative coping methods like a drawing. That's like, you know, behavioral. You're focusing on, you're seeing unobservable, trying to see the unobservable, focusing on that. You're giving behavioral stimuli, the situational factor, right? That will trigger certain behavior, hopefully. And then, and you observe and you may be like, ooh, he looked like more relaxed. He's smiling, whatever, without even playing game now, you know, because of drawing now. So then try to maybe reinforce that, reward that behavior by giving some social media response to his drawing post or whatever. You know, you can, you know, reinforce that behavior in whatever way today with the social media. And maybe you can also behaviorally observe how my gaming behavior decreases. That's the point of it too. So you may observe that too. So you bring in the both observable and unobservable. You consider both personal and potentially situational factor depending on some social media. Situational, but not the, you know, it's a digital situation, if you will, right? So we just came through the three major approaches that like developed over like 50, 60, 70 years in social psychology. Those are three major approaches. They're small, different versions, the extreme versions of each stuff, things like that. But those are three main approaches. So now I want you to identify a leisure-related situation, like my gaming example, but your example. It could be you. It could be a leisure situation, leisure problem that someone you know has, like your partner, your parent, your grandparents. Gosh, they have some leisure, you know, stuff that they can work out. your friend, your bestie, your class, roommate. Your roommate has annoying leisure behavior, maybe habit you want to address, maybe. Now, taking one of each of the different three perspectives, how would you go about it? From the behaviorist perspective, you're going to focus on the observable. What are the variables that you actually focus on? What are you trying to do? As a cognitive approach perspective, a person, what are you going to do? You're going to focus on unobservable. What kind of unobservable things will be related to that leisure issue? Finally, interactionist perspective, which tends to be a mixture of both. Yes.
Just going back to the last slide with rewarding. I just like rewarding by getting social media responses. Is that not a negative reward system?
Like if I posted on make me post a drawing on the social media,
Yeah.
and then I get.
But that's not a negative from somebody, or you just want to kind of do that. Yeah,
Are you talking about the positive brain?
base of behavior and getting like positive.
That is true. There's a lot of problem with this, social media and basing your self-evaluations and whatnot, self-worth on the social media, definitely. So I'm not saying this is the best approach, like sustainable even for that matter. But as a situational factor, that can be one situational factor that can play in. It could be anything. It could be you coming in as what we call in a research context, we call it confederate, that person you think are like other participants or friends, but actually you're kind of working with the researcher. So you complement that person. We do that, in actual real, okay. So once again, don't tell my wife, but when she shows me something, honey, great job. This dish tastes so great. For most time it's good. But that positive, that reinforcement, that positive interaction actually helps people to think that, yeah, I did a good job. I enjoyed this process. I'm going to do it again sometimes too. It doesn't have to be social media. Social media can be actually very tricky beast. That's for sure too. So what's your idea? I'll give you like 4 minutes, work on your own idea. I may ask you to actually do this in your exam. So if you have your own right now, you get one question checked off. You're missing some blanks. Are you good?
Yeah.
You good? Okay. Can you guys see this little my doodle? Sorry. I'll try to doodle next time that way. Spilled my coffee. Any questions? Yes.
I guess I chose procrastination.
Yeah.
I was looking at the first one.
Yeah.
Is like taking away things considered as part of?
Yeah, kind of stimuli. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if it was like there's a certain thing that was always distracting.
Yeah.
Just taking that out of the equation
Makes sense.
would like hopefully reinforce to not.
No, not do that activity. Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense. Although in reality, we know that doesn't necessarily work. And when something is taken away, we have stronger urge to just get that thing back, And It's called psychological reactance. Which example, sorry? Yeah. That's what you're working on, leisure situation? Okay.
So like, if you go to the bar
Mm.
and say like empty that.
Mm. Yeah, well, maybe something like, okay, your leisure situation is you want to make your friend or yourself a little more sociable at their, in a social context like a bar. You want to let them just interact more. Okay, so as a behaviorist, you're going to look at the observable. What kind of observable factor that impact people's interaction at a bar? Body languages. Okay, so what kind of body languages? Okay, so let them work on those body languages. Okay, that can be one of the stimuli, I guess. Another thing, I'm trying to think. Jasmine, help me out here. What helps interaction at the bar?
I feel like alone. You're with a group of people. You know, like,
Oh,
talk, if you're in like the circumstance of you're with other friends, even if the bar's empty, like even if you have one more person with you.
Yeah.
You're more like.
so you go as a partner. You
Yeah.
go with a pair. Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Provide a stimuli, and you can count actually how many words, how many things, how many minutes people spend talking to each other. What about the cognitive side? Unobservable.
Maybe like if they have anxiety from being in a bar, like.
Good one. Good one. Build on that. What kind of leisure situation are you working on? Ooh, good one. So what do you want to do about social media? You want to reduce the time on it? Okay.
Providing like alternatives.
Okay. Which will be
I play guitar, so.
oh, good. Okay.
Probably should spend more time studying.
We have to just get like.
Probably spend more time studying. Good. You got your example? Okay. You okay? Yeah. Sorry. What do you guys think?
Like one that watches too much Netflix and like is procrastinating.
Yeah.
Thought for this, like maybe we can have them like engage in more physical activity, which also rewards and benefits you with like a physical and mental health.
Okay.
Instead of just sitting around.
Yeah. So how do you go about making them do a little more exercise though? Physical activity. What's the stimuli? What's the thing you can do? Yeah, think about it. Sometimes, because it's a radical change from sitting and watching Netflix to like going exercise. But for example, you can introduce stimuli, like changes of the shows. Like for example, ooh, we can be more creepy. Get into the Netflix algorithm somehow and recommend a bunch of exercise show, like exercise, videos. On the Netflix. I don't know if they have. I think they have few, right? No, like yogas and exercise, stretching, those things, so that they watch it, but they're actually not sitting and sedentary. But they started to picking up some exercise habits and knowledge, which hopefully they will carry on to like not at the home anymore. You go out or go to gym or not. I don't know. That's just one idea. Yeah. All right. 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds. I will ask this probably an exam. You know it when I say yes.
You kind of had a question, because like, I gave the example of like, I work and I go to school, so sometimes I like go to a brewery, have some craft beers.
Yeah.
So the reduced drinking, say if I'm going out to buy a beer, beer drinking is a problem. For the first one, it's like provide an alternative, like going to a cafe and still going out when you're not drinking as much beer.
Right.
and then you reward it with like saying, "Hey," so that'd be the first one. right?
Yeah, okay.
The second one is like, oh, he goes to be stressed, so he might go back to drinking. That
Right.
the second one doesn't really provide a solution. It's just saying like,
Sometimes it's more about understanding,
it's
yeah.
just understanding.
Yeah,
the concept.
understanding.
And then the third one, what we kind of understood was, it's a combination of both. So
Yeah.
he's stressed because he's going to the brewery.
Yeah.
So if he goes to the cafe instead of rewarding with a pastry, and he still wants that boozy thing.
Yeah.
Could use like every little while, instead of having like a pastry, specialty cocktail, so you're getting like a nice fun drink, but you're reducing the alcohol.
Right.
But every now and then you get that little bit of like boozy coffee, so then you reduce the alcohol. Still, every now and then, if you're really stressed out, you get something different.
Okay.
So it kind of like curbs it. Would that be, is that on the same vein or what?
Well, in terms of interactionist perspective, the third approach, you want to see them, but you have both observable and unobservable at the prey in your, study.
Yeah, the observable is
And-
changing the drinking
Yeah,
of the beer to coffee.
yeah, unobservable is.
Is stressed out.
Okay.
Because of work and school, but
Then
you're
how,
taking account of like, oh, he might go back to drinking because like coffee is
Yeah.
like a stimulant.
so now going back to this both second and third approach, like yes, the cognitive approach goes into like providing a, unobservable explanatory factor that helps us understand what the problem is. But also based off of that, you can also provide a solution, like behavior solution too. Like for example, okay, stress is issue. You can provide an alternative coping mechanism. That's more stimuli, that's more observable, that's more tangible. You can still do that, but that's based off of your assumptions and understanding and quote unquote observation of the unobservable, right?
Okay.
That's based on the like something that we cannot see, but it's we think that it's stress is kind of at the prey right now. So based off that, you're going to provide some sort of like, solution potential, intervention, if you will. And if, whatever that thing is based off of that unobservable, that's fine. But as long as you can mention, like you can bring the unobservable into the equation, I'll be fine with that probably. Yeah. Alrighty. So what's your leisure situation? What's your parents' leisure situation? What's your partner's leisure situation? If you successfully, quote unquote, modify your partner's behavior, you owe me a cup of coffee. Just kidding. That's very difficult. And there's a silence. Isaiah.
I chose procrastination.
Procrastination, great example. We all have, that's $1 million question. Yes.
I kind of just said I kind of choose literally almost anything over school. So like any
I've been there.
Any of my like leisure activities I'll choose over school.
Okay.
For the first one, I kind of said like rewarding for choosing schoolwork over something.
Okay. Your behaviors, you're trying to introduce a reward.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the reward?
I don't know for example. I said more free time. So like if I like dedicated like a certain amount of time on school,
Yeah.
make sure I get everything done.
Okay.
Then I would sort of give myself time to do stuff later. I don't know.
It sounds good. Well, that's an idea. That's good. That's a step forward. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
The cognitive one I put that like why would I find school less enjoyable than leisure activities?
Why?
Yeah, I don't. Well now it's becoming better because I'm in classes that I like.
Okay.
That's probably why.
Okay. So like your interest, personal interest, motivation, those things. Okay. So you might actually, based off of that observation of the quote unquote unobservable, like you think, oh, the interest is driving, my lack of studying behavior. You're going to choose the courses that you're interested in. I was just kidding. Different courses, right? Different courses. You take sports courses, esports courses, why not? Okay. So you feel like you're, you want to study more. Third approach, interactionist.
This one was a little harder for me. I just was trying to figure out how to like interact them both. I said if school stresses me out, I focus on activities that can help me learn better, or like different ways that I can learn, or like different ways I can like present schoolwork
like more enjoyable for me. Or like, I don't know.
Okay, no, good. Whether it's the stress or the like, lack of fun in learning, but let's say there's unobservable enjoyment, perceived enjoyment is, driving your learning or not learning much. You wanna do, there's so many apps right now, right? To do the flip cards, learn while playing, gamification of, learning, things like that. Maybe you incorporate that based off the unobservable. In terms of the situational factor or observable factor, what do you think? We can still continue the some sort of rewarding system as well, depending on. Yeah, study can be easily rewarded.
If I have like a support system, like if I have friends that also help me study.
Study buddy, great example. Situational factor. All right. What is the observable or, well, it's observable definitely, but social situation can be connected to like unobservable things like, oh, you don't study because you're alone. Not just that, but also you perceive lack of motivation when you're alone, right? So the motivation can be affected by being having a study buddy. Anybody else? Okay, then did you raise your hand? Okay, no, that's okay. You don't have to be like, oh, sorry, everybody, I don't want to waste your one. Okay, so you keep your answers to yourself. If you want to share that with me to make sure that that makes sense after the class, I'll be here. I'll be hanging around. Happy Friday. I think actually we might be getting a little bluer skies. So maybe you want to go out. Hopefully better quality air. I don't know. Hopefully this weekend you can do something a little outside. That's my plan with my wife. Well, she doesn't know yet. She doesn't know yet, but that's my plan. That's our plan. All right, have a good Friday, eh? Yes, please read the chapter 3 before the next one.